Okay. So what was the difference between being with each other before and after remembering something good in your day?
I felt more peaceful,
Okay.
not agitated.
How about you, Kathy?
So you're asking how, can you ask that again? I didn't.
Sharing something positive, what difference did it make in the group and how you felt personally?
Oh, you mean just saying it out loud? Yes.
Just saying it out loud to another
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, it's great to, yeah, I'm trying, that's been my goal, to try to be more positive when I'm around people. And so it's good, to, which so I always like to try to think of positive things, and it does make you feel better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elaine put it in chat. It says, this reminded me of yoga exercises, and I've had a Christian friend who has warned me against yoga, so I was conflicted.
Well, yoga as it's taught in the United States is mostly taught as a physical culture and not as a religious exercise. In fact, people all over the world know that if you put your feet on the ground and breathe deeply and close your eyes and imagine light, it's relaxing. And that's because these are the things that we just did naturally as a child. Everyone. Doesn't make any difference what your religion is. What I've done so far, other than the prayer, is neither Christian nor non-Christian. What makes a meditation Christian is its content. That's why I read the scripture. That's why I reminded you that Jesus is called the pure light and invited you to imagine light coming into your body and darkness going out. Once again, an experience I think that all people have is that if they're tired or too busy or feel crowded, it's somehow dirty. You remember David in the 23rd Psalm said that God leaded him by the still waters. That's one of the places where his soul was restored. And that's because in the busyness of being a king, even David felt tired, frazzled, dirty. The scriptures teach that as a nature of sin is that it makes us in some way dirty. And the nature of being with Christ purifies us. The light of Christ is pure. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a yoga teacher who's a Hindu, and she would dearly love to convert me. It ain't going to happen because my light is Jesus Christ. And I think it would be just delightful if she were to realize that he's the true light. But we all need to be cleansed. Working on it. Actually, she's surprised that I don't know what her image of Christians were before she met me, but I don't recognize them. Okay, but anyhow, this is a cleansing exercise. When our life begins to feel like our hair, it's a quick way we can take a break. And we can do this at work, we can do this with children, we can do this anywhere. Okay, so let's just take a deep breath again, and we'll move forward a little bit. You ready?
Yeah.
Sharing what's positive brings light into the room and cleanses the soul. We share what's negative for two reasons. First of all, about 80% of our thoughts are warnings of some sort or another. Like, are you really want to do this, Jamie? Nobody's going to come. This is my mother talking. Nobody's going to come. And my father saying, and of course you're incompetent. And so you're going to totally mess the whole thing up. And no one's going to get anything out of it. And it's time for my mother to come in again and say, well, you're so old, nobody's going to want to look at you anyhow. And this just goes on, for me, this goes on and on and on. It's the noise in the background of my life. Don't pick your nose. Where'd that come from? But that's, so anyhow, these are all a part of our brain working away, warning us. And if I was going like this, I'd have put my hand right down. So it's not bad. But our life is not the sum total of 80,000 negative thoughts a day. We believe that life is a good gift from a good God. And so we need to have ways to get past the constant clutter of what's wrong, what has been wrong, and what's going to be wrong. And it's always been wrong because that's just the way you are. Am I the only one am I alone in that?
No.
So it's boring and it's dreary. Okay, Paul said that whenever you approach God in prayer, begin with thanksgiving. And all things with thanksgiving, bring your concerns to God. Said that in Philippians. Most Christians do not begin their day, they do not end their day, and they do not begin their conversation with thanksgiving. Am I wrong?
No.
Why is it easier to talk about negative stuff? Why is it easier for you? And if it isn't, just tell me, no, Jamie, I'm a positive person. That's not my problem, and that's okay.
I think for me, am I muted? I can't tell.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, I think for me, I think deep down, I'm afraid of many things that I can't name all the time, but I'm more of a fearful person lately than emboldened person. And maybe I'm looking for reassurance from others when, that's just my own self-analysis is maybe when I say something negative that, my jeans look terrible and my hair looks terrible, maybe
You start
I'm
off with your hair
fearful.
today.
I know.
You know yourself.
But I'm just that's not a big thing to be fearful of, but I'm just saying maybe it's because I have negativity I have to deal with, and that's why I'm trying to learn some ways to think more positive.
Kathy, you've already said that you're working on being more positive.
Yeah, I mean, to Barb's point too, Barb, you're a beautiful person just like you are, and you don't need to worry about your hair.
Oh, thank you.
I think I've been dealing with all the time being the yes person. What everybody asks of me, yes, yes, we want you to do that. Okay, okay. Well, yeah. So I think and then how do you view yourself to the world, like to your friends, to people? Most people have very insecure feelings about their body, about how they look, and society has made us made us be like that. So I'm trying to be more like God made me who I am, and I'm accepted who I am. I don't have to be something I'm not, just to please somebody else anymore. And it brings so much, you don't have to worry about your hair. Like, I don't care today what it looks like. You're either gonna like me or you're not gonna. It doesn't matter anymore. So, and I read the Bible every morning, and I thank God that I get up in the morning and I'm healthy. I'm focusing more on being more thankful for what I do have. And, and I know I've had a lot of, in the past, a lot of things happen in my life, but that's the past.
Right.
I had an older brother. All I had to do was come bopping into the house happy, and he'd make sure that that was taken care of pretty quickly. I was my mother's favorite. It's no favor to be your favorite child.
Mhm.
And Jerry was, in fact, jealous of me.
Mhm.
Reconciled about 2 years before he died, but it took that long for him to get over it.
Mhm.
I didn't do anything to be my mother's
Mhm.
favorite, except I got born. She said, "Oh, this is the one I like the best." Thank you, Mama. And so I learned quite early on, it's been a terrible day and I got too much homework and stuff. My older brother would leave me alone.
Mhm.
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 Yeah.
I see you going,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think she wrote something, but it disappeared from my screen. Let's see.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, I wrote that. I was brought up in a Lutheran, and we had a catechism, like the Catholics have a catechism, which was basically a little book that was supposed to be used by the head of the household in instructing his or her family in Christianity. And there were morning prayers for when you had a meal, evening prayers, and explanations of the Lord's Prayer and various things that we say in the Christian faith. That was a pretty neat thing. I think most people don't do anything like that anymore, which is a shame,
Mhm.
as a family.
Yeah, it brings out the gratitude before the day begins.
Okay, anything
Yes.
else? Anything else before we go on? Negativity is easy because it's a habit. It's safe, seems natural to us. All you have to do is something about 100,000 times and it becomes natural.
Pastor?
We literally build paths in our brain. Our little nerves go out there, and it's just easier to think this thought than that thought because this is a nice big fat pathway, and this one isn't so big. So it's just easier to think. It feels natural. And 80,000 of our thoughts are warnings. So, yes, Elaine, you have a hand up. I don't know if you mean to.
Yes. 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 I don't mean to interrupt, but when we're talking about how we felt about ourselves in our day, I got thinking about how much culture influences us all our lives. I remember when I was a teenager, my aunt gifted me a magazine. It was 16 magazine, and then 17 magazine, and it had all these pictures of beautiful models, with a certain body type and hairstyles. And me and my friends wanted to emulate that, even though some of us, we're a far cry from looking like those models, but it puts pressure on you to be like image. And there's, just think of how much more of that there is these days with social media. It's awful pressure.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so what we see and what we consume in the culture around us is paid for by people who have something to sell us.
Mhm.
And if we're worried about how we
Mhm.
smell and what color our teeth are, and whether our car is admired by people when we pull into the grocery store, they sell more.
Yep.
It feeds right into that
Mhm.
80% of our stuff is negative anyhow. So there's a synergy between what the world is telling us and what we're telling ourselves.
Mhm.
And God is saying, I've given you this brain to keep you out of trouble, but it also does other things. Don't let the world suck you in because they're not your friend, I am. Making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So Paul says you start with Thanksgiving, and we just experienced that sort of rebalancing where we were in our life when we first started this meeting. That if we share good stuff, it just lightens the mood, brings us together, and it relaxes. And it also reminds us that what's true about our life includes what's right.
Mhm.
I'm going to say that again. What's true about our life is good. That's just as true as the worst thing that ever happened to us.
Mhm.
Okay? All right, moving right along. This part of our brain in here, something called the limbic system. And all of our thoughts and all of our feelings and all of our impressions go through our limbic system. They get organized into something that we can store in our brains, and they get labeled according to our basic emotions. Now, there's some argument as to what our basic emotions are. Did you know there are 138 words in the English language for feelings? And we can talk about I'm outraged, and we can say, well, a little irritated. So all kinds of words. But there are really only a couple of basic emotions. Fear is one of them. Anger is another one. Delight's another one. Um, some people say that isn't delight. That's pleasure. I don't care what you label it, but it's over there in that department. That's nice stuff. Attraction is one of them. We're just attracted to some things. Repulsion is others. Most people don't like cow plots. Just, oh, I don't want to touch that. Yeah. So it all gets categorized and it all gets filed away in our brain somewhere. Okay. In the 50s, surgeons started being able to open up holes and then touch people's cerebral cortex with probes. And all of a sudden, they would remember something from 40 years ago, like they're in the room. They remembered who was there, remember what the smells were, remembered what the sounds were. Everything from that experience was all stored up in there. And they touch another part of the brain, boop, they'd remember something else. I think that's kind of weird, but that's what they did. And that's how they came to understand that our brain really does store everything from the experience, zillions of them, just zillions of them. And then we build pathways about what we feel is normal. And then we can think other stuff outside of the big pathways, but that takes effort. It's actually harder. Um, then they realized that all the structures in the limbic system we shared with a lizard. And when people talk about the lizard brain, that's what they're talking about. Human beings and lizards. When God has a good idea, he just uses it over and over and over again. Keeps us out of trouble, keeps lizards out of trouble. But he gave us this other stuff, which allows us to think other ways and to make decisions that a lizard can't make. And that's actually what makes us distinctively human. It's part of the image of God within us. I don't know if you've thought about this, but we are people who have thoughts. We're not our thoughts. I'll let you think about that for a minute. Why would that be important? We are people who have thoughts. We're not our thoughts.
Because that statement recognizes we are people first, and then the thoughts are man-made from us, not from God, you know,
God. True.
and we have a choice.
There you
So-
go. Have you ever heard somebody say, I'm a worrier. I've always been a worrier. I'm always going to be a worrier. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a person who's identified with their thoughts.
Mhm.
Now, how much freedom do they have to change?
None.
Do any of y'all have anything about yourself you'd like to change?
Lots.
Our freedom is the freedom to choose which one of these file drawers back here we rummage around in. I kind of like to rummage around into the hills and the trees and the blue skies, which we haven't had much recently, and how nice it is to be on like the South Cordite path. Our gut and intestinal systems is our second brain. No, but I think there's truth in it. How would that work? How would our gut be our second brain?
What is that? I can't find the chat. Oops.
Well, you have nice fingernails, even if your hair is up Kimbo.
You want me to read it? I can read it.
Oh, I just found it. What do you think about, okay, is there,
The theory that our gut or digestive and intestinal system is our second brain.
I haven't heard that before.
No, neither have I.
Huh. What have you heard, Elaine? Or what did you hear about it, Elaine? I don't think she can hear me.
Well, it looks like her mute button's on. Oh,
Elaine, can you explain that a little bit, or you're thinking? I'm sorry, I don't mean to bug you. Take your time.
Oh,
she says, I think it has something to do with our digestive system affecting our moods, etc.
Hmm.
Huh.
There are those who say that it is very difficult to identify our emotions by thinking about the emotion itself. It's much easier to think about what part of our body is being affected. For instance, when I'm angry, I'll close up my fist. If you say, Jamie, are you getting irritated? I'll say, oh no, because I know as a good Christian person, I'm not meant to be mad. But that also means that I'm not in touch with what I'm feeling, because I don't really want to admit that that's what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
But if I look at my hand, it tells another story. Okay. Oh, Jamie, you aren't nervous about this at all, and the silences don't bother you. And my stomach goes, and I have to intentionally relax it. And then when I relax it, I begin to feel better. Okay. We register our emotions in different parts of our body. And in our stomach, you know the expression, I can't stomach it anymore?
Mhm.
That
Yep.
usually is coming from somebody that has a boss that's picking on them, or maybe had a difficult sibling, or is in some sort of chronic position where they have to eat their anger because it'll just get them in trouble, and they're nervous, and they'll say, I can't stomach it anymore. Their stomach is telling them, you're angry about this, you need to change it. Now, why do we not change things?
Fear of the
Because
unknown,
you're not bold enough, right?
or the fear of the unknown.
We're afraid of the consequences, the unknown, yeah. And so that all that kind of stuff, I'm afraid of it, but I'm angry, and I know I should do something. I'm not going to. Usually registers in people's stomachs. It's one of the reasons why people overeat. Sugar makes your stomach feel better. You know, comfort food. We know these things. We just don't know how to put them together and to use them in our spiritual life. Now, I'm not sure that the digestive system influences our moods. I think our moods affect our digestive system. But remember, Paul said that our bodies are the temple of the soul. It's not like we're spirits disconnected from our bodies. God made a body and breathed into it a self that's animated, and we're told we're to worship God with all of our heart, with all of our mind, and with all of our strength, with all of our hands. So, okay, then we have something here from John Hopkins. If you ever go with your gut to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach when nervous, you're likely to get signals from an unexpected source, your second brain, hidden in the walls of the digestive system. This brain is your gut. It's revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think.
Hmm.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there she is. I know. I thought she left the meeting, but there she is. I know she has somewhere to go at 1, right?
We just read your chat about John Hopkins.
What do y'all think?
I guess I don't know. I have to digest it. So-
I love it. Well, I mean, I'm thinking back to, like you always say, when back in the day when you had to go, go get your food and kill it, and the fight or flight attitude, the fight or flight thing you get. So, like, I feel like I still think your brain gets that, and your body reacts. Is this something I fly, or is this something I face? Fight or flight. And not that we do that nowadays, but I still think, you know what I mean? Those kind of what's the word I want? Those kind of things that are in front of you, you have to make it, that are especially upsetting. You either have to decide how your body's going to react. I don't know. Like when I
That's
play when I have to perform on the bagpipes, my mouth gets so dry. I'm like, where did all my saliva go? And I think I think it's a nervous reaction. So then I have to, have a sip of water or something. Then, but I think that's my brain saying you're nervous, so I'm going to make your mouth dry. You know what I mean? Or I have to face my boss because I have to tell her I'm not happy about something and my stomach starts hurting. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a reaction to some fear or something that your body wants to handle that has to, if you don't, what I mean? I think there's a correlation there.
yeah. Isn't that part of the limbic system too? That fight or flight type thing, or
Yeah, the limbic system is saying, "Oh, this looks like something else that turned out badly," and then that pushes all the stuff
button.
there the doctors at John Hopkins study. And what I'm interested in is knowing that they get pushed, and I don't have to dwell there. I'm glad they're working on it, but the Bible says 365 times, one for every day, fear not one way or another. And that's because anxiety is such a problematic, it's even more problematic than anger. Most people will say, what's your most difficult, or many people say, what's your most difficult emotion to handle or the most dangerous? They'll say my anger. Well, actually, anger doesn't become dangerous until we hold on to it so long that we explode. We hold on to it because we're anxious. We're afraid. But yeah, no, I think that's a very interesting statement. And is saying that anxiety registers strongly in your stomach. You feel butterflies in your stomach, I think most people would say, yeah, I'm anxious. It's not easy for them. So anxiety, yeah. Okay, so moving along. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Elaine?
Yes, I was just typing this out. But I used to jog with my husband, and sometimes I would find myself way ahead of him, and he'd yell to me, what's going on? And all of a sudden, it would bring me to myself, and I would realize that in my head, I was thinking of a stressful situation at work or something that made me angry, actually. And it gave me this spurt of energy, and I would just start running really fast.
Yeah, that's another thing the doctors will tell you that we've kind of known right along. Anger gives us energy. The adrenaline from anger prepares us for fight, clears our sinuses, strengthens up our muscles. We can run faster, think faster. Actually, a lot of people are addicted to their own adrenaline because of its physical effects. They feel strong. They're brighter, brain's running faster. Now, what's the problem with adrenaline energy? Or problems?
I don't think you should live in it. I don't think you should be at a heightened adrenaline level.
Does it put stress on?
Yeah. Stress, like you were going to say, right? On your rest of your body.
It's exhausting. You can only do it for so long and then
you burn it. Yeah.
It's good for your heart, is it?
Gavin, you were in the military. I don't know if you were told this or not, but commanders generally don't want to have their people in action more than 72 hours because after 72 hours, they just start making all kinds of mistakes. Get shot. Your body just can't take that much adrenaline for that long.
Yeah. No,
And
yeah.
if not, they'll pull one group out and send another group in, keep the action going, but you got to pull the people out. We just can't take it. Our brains, on an everyday basis, our brains need about 40 minutes a day to classify thoughts that don't fit. 90% of our thinking is automatic. It's whatchamacallit, the habits of thought. And 10% might be creative. We're trying to solve a problem. Or our brain is saying, I've got an experience here and I don't know what to do with it. And so I'm going to actually have to think about it. And those are the things that when you go to bed at night are bugging you, or you wake up in the morning and it's kind of bugging you. And sometimes you have insights. It's a ha, and you see things a new way. And other times it's just they're bugging you. Our brain is a physical organism, just like our arm. And if we have a physical therapist that says, look, take this 3-pound weight and lift it 15 times, rest, do it 15 times more, rest, do it 15 times more, and put it down. I think all of us know we want to get healed fast and do it 30 times. They're going to hurt. Is going to say, what are you doing? Well, our brains, when we push them too hard, say, what are you doing? Because they're a physical organism and thinking produces, people at John Hopkins study all this stuff, and it's really interesting, a little bit that I understand about it. Just like muscles produce toxins and your blood has to wash it away or it just builds up. And the next thing you know, you got problems. What are some of the expressions for a brain that we've worked on too hard? I'll give you one. Let's see. First one I thought of is kind of rude, so I won't say it. I'm just fuzzy brained, foggy brained. What are some of the other expressions for, I know I've been pushing my brain too hard?
Feelings of tiredness.
Exhausted, yes.
Brain dead.
Brain dead, there's a good one.
Is that like when you go have a thought and you go out of the room and when you step out, you forgot what you were going for?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
The older, it's a way of life.
Burnout.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Gavin said, what?
Burnout.
Yep. That's a good one.
How about I can't focus?
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of like not knowing why you're in the room.
Mhm.
So anyhow, our brain sends these signals saying, I've had it. I need a break. And what do? We put our feet on the floor, take a deep breath, imagine being in the woods and allow God to restore our soul. We tell ourselves, I got a deadline here and I got to get this report finished. I've got to get the sauce finished. There 22 people are coming. It's a disaster if I don't have my spaghetti sauce done or whatever. And we drive our brain some more. At least if you're a workaholic like I am, that's what I do is I drive my brain some more. We need about 40 minutes a day to allow our brains to relax, clear out the toxins, and to classify the stuff that doesn't fit, to think about our life, okay? Not be anxious and run, but to think about stuff because it doesn't quite fit. We get about 20 minutes when we're falling asleep and when we're waking up. We're falling asleep and waking up. There's that period in which our brain, our cerebellum is working. We're perfectly rational. But the little manager in there, do you have a little manager that's always managing your thoughts? No, I can't think this and I got to do that. And this. Our manager goes to sleep and leaves the rest of our brain alone. So our thoughts are coming up out of the limbic system and we're thinking. Do you know what I mean about the little manager?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our little manager actually, we fall asleep in stages and our little manager falls asleep before the top and the back of our brain. And that's when we can slow down, relax, reflect on our day. That's when we get our insights that changes the way we look at stuff. Your mother ever said, why don't you sleep on it or look different in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it does. That's because our rational intelligence. Barb worked
Oh.
in a sleep lab. She knows all about this. Barb, is this true? Our little manager goes to sleep before our frontal lobes and the back of our brain.
That part I don't know. I do know about sleep stages and all the things that our brain can do that we're really not aware of, like hypnagogic hallucinations and things that seem real but really are physical things going on with our body. Very, very interesting science, that's for sure. I did read something that's somewhat along this lines from Scientific American, I think it was recently, about people that have died and come back, which we've heard stories about, but now they were able to actually put brain monitors or something like you were talking about, and it just show that the manager, whatever you want to call it, disbands, and that's why people get all these flows and reviews of their life, because there's no longer any manager left in your brain, and that's why you hear people having these experiences of life reviews of all these memories they've forgotten, and then when they're brought back to life, they share this experience of kind of a review of their life, which I thought was very interesting. It kind of goes along with what we've thought about the dying experience and judging or not judging or just reviewing your life. I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating. So
If we access or learning how to access that first stage and last stage of sleep, where the manager is not managing so much,
yeah,
or the last stage before people are declared to be clinically dead, and then they come back
right,
and they go through the experience of just being aware.
right. Yeah, very, very interesting. It's kind of a reaffirmation of God's plan for us to, he's taking care of us even when we don't know it. I mean, I don't know. I can't put into words what my thoughts were, I guess. But
I think your thoughts are just fine. I understand. The rest of y'all understand what Barb's saying?
Mm-hmm.
so I guess because I didn't get enough sleep, my manager isn't working. But,
Right. So if we are sleep deprived, we're mostly deprived of that 20 to 30 minutes where we're not managing our thoughts. And therefore, we're not allowing the limbic system to present to the frontal lobes this stuff that is confusing it, so it doesn't know where to stick it. It's like we have this room that we put spare thoughts that we can't file. And if we get too many spare thoughts in there, the room starts overflowing.
Mhm.
It just messes up stuff coming in and going out. It just
Huh?
We like our front hall being too crowded. So there are certain things that we do every day that we can allow ourselves to process thoughts. Okay. And in your text on pages 2 and 3, our discussion of some of these things. They're like washing the dishes. A lot of people, when they're washing their dishes, tell themselves that what they're doing is
Oh, no.
is that your alarm going off?
Yes, and we just replaced it last night. That was what was going on all night last night. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself so you guys can keep talking.
Well, I was wondering if can we just keep it to the 1 o'clock? I have to go then.
I'm working to wrap this up right now.
Oh, okay.
All right, so on pages 2 and 3, you're going to find ways to give your brain a rest. My favorite is when you're driving, you don't really need all of your brain to drive. You can let the little manager relax and just let stuff come up. When you put both feet on the floor and breathe and close your eyes, then you begin to think thoughts, random thoughts that you are not controlling. That's what your brain has to clear out. Just pick something and just maybe just put your feet on the floor like you did if that worked for you, where you can just let thoughts come in, take a look at them and go away. If you'll give yourself 20 minutes a day, whether driving or washing the dishes or vacuuming the floor or whatever you're doing. I walk because I sit too much. My job, too much sitting. I walk. While I walk, I'm not thinking about my sermon. I'm just looking around at stuff and letting my brain work. If you would do that, then we can talk about how it feels to give your brain a little more time to relax. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All righty.
All righty.
Well, thank you all very much. This has been good. I appreciate what everyone
Thank
has
you.
done.
Thank you.
And have you ever considered just taking a shotgun to your smoke alarm?
Thank you.
God
Thank
bless you. Have a wonderful day. See you at noon next week.
I want to take one to my computer right now.
Well, go right ahead. Um,
Bye.
Now, for $72, you can get a
Thanks.
camera with a different microphone, and that might take care of your problem. Any store that sells.
Tell me what that is again.
They're little camcorders.
Uh-huh.
And the
That's a good
camcorder,
idea.
you clip it to the top. You've got either a problem
Really?
or you've got a problem with your probably internal to your computer, but it's probably your microphone.
Okay.
And that replaces your microphone.
That sounds good. Thank you very much.
And that's a $78 problem.
Mm-hmm.
If not, you just might want to turn that into.
Sounds great.
God bless you all.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thanks so much, Pastor. Have a blessed day.
Okay. Bye-bye.